Hello, my name is Elena. And here is my sad story life about cheating. It began quietly, like the shifting of seasons. A look that lingered too long, a smile that said too much. I never meant to fall. I never meant to look elsewhere. But hearts don't break loudly. They crack in silence when no one's watching. Michael, my husband, was good. Steady. Predictable in a way that once felt safe. Then began to feel like stillness. 10 years into our marriage, we'd become a well-oiled machine. Bills paid, routines followed, dinners reheated, kisses mechanical. He loved me, I know he did, in the way the earth loves the moon. Always there but distant. And then came Julian. Julian was not better than Michael. Not kinder, not smarter. But he noticed things. The way my fingers trembled when I was overwhelmed. The way I hummed when I focused. He made the air feel charged again, like walking barefoot on dew-covered grass. Our first transgression wasn't physical. It was when I told Julian something I hadn't told Michael in years. I feel invisible. He didn't fix it. He just listened. And that alone felt intimate enough to betray. The rest? Well, the heart has its own language, one I didn't realize I still spoke. We met in between the folds of time. A coffee between errands, a glance across a bookstore. We never said the word love, not even when it hovered unspoken between us. What we shared was more dream than deed. But dreams have gravity. The guilt came in waves. Some nights I lay next to Michael and studied the rise and fall of his chest, hating myself for every secret I carried. Other nights I imagined what life might be if I walked away, if I followed that electric feeling into the unknown. But I was not built to destroy. And yet I had already done it. Michael asked me once, "Are you happy?" And I lied because I didn't know what I was anymore. Now I sit in a room with 2 windows. One looks out to safety, history, the quiet comfort of what I've known. The other opens to risk, desire, and something I don't yet understand. I don't know which one to climb through. And that's the truth. I don't know how to stay. But I also don't know how to go. Days passed like shadows across the floor, changing shape but never vanishing. I went on folding shirts, cooking meals, answering emails, all the while carrying a secret that grew heavier each morning. Julian had become a ghost I invited. In thought, in silence, in hesitation. Michael remained unchanged. Or perhaps I was just seeing him through different eyes now. Noticing his tired smile, his effort, the way he still reached for my hand during movies. Guilt isn't a weight. It's a weather. It seeps in, lingers in corners, rains when you least expect it. One afternoon, Julian sent me a message that wasn't even about us. Just a line from a book he knew I loved. But that one sentence, that knowing, made my breath hitch. I stared at it too long before deleting it. That night Michael made pasta. From scratch. He poured wine. He was trying. I could see it, feel it in the way his eyes searched mine, looking for the version of me he remembered. I wanted to give her back to him. Tried. I smiled, touched his arm, laughed at something that wasn't funny. He looked relieved. Felt like a liar. I went to bed wondering if it was possible to love someone and still betray them. Not because you wanted more, but because something inside you had gone hungry for too long. Julian never asked me to choose. Maybe he knew I couldn't. Maybe he didn't want to be chosen. Maybe he just wanted to be felt. But now, everything feels like a half-truth. When I touch Michael, it feels like reaching through glass. When I think of Julian, it feels like falling through fog, warm, terrifying, and without ground. I know I can't stay here, in this middle place, this door between loyalty and longing. But I don't know what's on the other side of either choice. One will hurt him. The other will hollow me. I used to think love was about permanence. Now I wonder if it's about permission, to change, to ache, to need. Tomorrow I will wake beside Michael again. I will pretend to be whole. But tonight, I stand at the door, my hand on the knob, heart split between the past that raised me and the future I dare not name. Morning came with silence. Not the kind that comforts, the kind that listens. Michael was already in the kitchen, his back to me, humming a tune I didn't recognize. The coffee was made. 2 cups. Mine with just the right amount of milk as always. That familiarity should have felt like love. But it felt like a memory I was pretending still fit. I sat across from him. For a moment we were just two people in a quiet home. Then he looked up, and something in his eyes stopped me. He knew. Not the details perhaps, but the distance. The way my gaze kept reaching for something not in the room. "Do you want to talk?" he asked softly without accusation. I opened my mouth and closed it again. What could I say? That I'd let someone else fill the spaces he hadn't touched in years. That I'd betrayed him not in a single moment, but in thousands of unspoken ones. "I don't know how to be here," I whispered. He didn't speak for a long time. Then, "I think I've known that for a while." There was no fight, no raised voices, just a quiet grief between us. Something had died slowly, without either of us noticing. And now we stood over its body, unsure whether to bury it or try to revive it. That evening I met Julian one last time. Not for passion. For clarity. He looked at me the way he always had, like I was made of wildfire and rain. And for a moment I wanted to let that be enough. To leap into the heat of him and let the world burn. But I didn't. "I can't be a woman who runs," I told him. "And I can't be a woman who hides. But I've been both." His silence told me he understood. He reached for my hand, then let it go. When I got home I stood in front of the mirror. I looked older than I remembered. But also truer. Like someone who had finally stopped pretending. Michael was asleep. Or pretending to be. I lay beside him, not touching. Just breathing. The house was still, but something had shifted. I hadn't chosen Michael. I hadn't chosen Julian. For the first time in years I had chosen myself. And in that strange, suspended peace, I finally began to learn how to stay. Not for someone else, but for the woman in the mirror. You think that after a decision, peace will follow. But peace isn't a prize, it's a discipline. Quiet, daily choosing. And some days I still falter. I told Michael everything eventually. Not all the details. Some things are better left behind the curtain of regret. But enough. I owed him that much. The air between us shifted when the truth came out, like a storm finally touching ground. He didn't shout. He listened. Eyes glassed, fists tight, voice trembling. When he finally spoke, it was one sentence. "I don't know who we are now." Neither did I. That first week was unbearable. We moved through the house like guests. Careful, quiet, reverent. Some nights I heard him crying in the shower. Other nights it was me. And yet we stayed. Not out of habit. Not out of fear. But because beneath the ashes, there were embers. Not yet fire, but warmth. We had built a life once. Could we do it again, this time without blindfolds? Julian faded like a dream that once woke me gasping. I didn't reach out. He didn't either. He was never the ending. Only the mirror that showed me how lost I'd become. Therapy became our meeting ground. A space for wreckage and rebuilding. We stripped everything down. Years of resentment, forgotten needs, misheard silences. It wasn't romantic. It was painful, honest, necessary. One night Michael asked, "Why did you stay?" I thought about it for a long time before answering. Because I finally wanted to stop running. And because somewhere in me, I still believe we're not finished. He nodded. He didn't say he forgave me. But he did reach for my hand. Now I wake up and choose to look at him, really look. And some mornings he looks back. Other mornings he doesn't. That's okay. Trust isn't a light switch. It's a sunrise, slow, earned, and sometimes hidden behind clouds. We are not who we were. But maybe that's the point. It's been 3 years. The house is the same. The garden is fuller now, Michael's doing. He found solace in planting things, watching them grow. I used to watch him from the kitchen window, coffee in hand, marveling at how care can take root in a person again. We still live together. We still sleep in the same bed. But everything between us is different. Not broken, not restored, just real. Love, in its later form, is quieter than I expected. Less about passion. More about presence. About choosing each other in the middle of a history that almost undid us. I no longer feel like I'm running. I no longer crave the wildfire. Sometimes I think of Julian, not often, not painfully. He was a chapter, mirror, a man who lit a match I needed to see myself clearly again. I don't regret him, but I don't wish for him either. That longing has dissolved into something softer. Gratitude and distance. Michael and I built something new. Not by returning to what we had, but by mourning it together. We let the old marriage go. Buried it even. And from its place, we've built a different kind of love. It's not flawless, but it's ours. We laugh more now. We touch like people who know the cost of distance. Sometimes we argue. Deeply, honestly, without retreating into silence. We're not perfect, but we are present. And me. I am not the same woman who stood at the edge of two windows, torn and afraid. I made mistakes, owned them. I stayed not out of guilt, but because I found the courage to become someone better inside the wreckage. Forgiveness, I've learned, doesn't arrive in grand gestures. It arrives in the quiet. In a shared glance over morning toast. In the hand that reaches back, even after it's been burned. We're still learning each other. Still choosing. And that is enough.